On today's show, the OKC Thunder trade for Gordon Hayward. How good will Gordon Hayward be for this Thunder team? How does he complement Shai, Gilgeous-Alexander, and Chet Holmgren? Plus, how active will we see the OKC Thunder be on the buyout market? It's all coming up right here at Locked On NBA.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up and welcome to another edition of Locked On NBA, the biggest stories with the local experts. I'm your host, Jackson Gatlin, also host of Locked On Rockets right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Now, today's episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just another job board. LinkedIn has a vast network of more than 1 billion professionals, which makes it the best place to hire. It gives you access to professionals you can't find anywhere else. LinkedIn does all that while making the process easy and intuitive. Hiring is easy when you have that many quality candidates to choose from. So easy, in fact, that 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within the first 24 hours. Look, LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats and might not have the time or resources to hire. LinkedIn is constantly finding ways to make the process easier. They even just launched a feature that helps you write job descriptions, making the process even easier and quicker. 2.5 million small businesses use LinkedIn for hiring. So post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnba. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnba to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Joining us now is the host of Locked On Thunder, Rylan Stiles. You can track down wherever you listen to your podcasts and on YouTube. Just search Locked On Thunder. And Rylan, the Thunder with one of the bigger acquisitions, maybe the biggest acquisition at this year's NBA trade deadline. Gordon Hayward headed to Oklahoma City. And OKC sending not a ton back to the Charlotte Hornets. Davis Bertans, Trey Mann, Vasilij Micić, and a couple second rounders, which is not a ton of value for a high impact guy like Gordon Hayward. Just another Sam Presti masterclass.
Yeah, I think that the value for going and getting Hayward on the trade market is that it was seemingly likely that the Hornets were going to buy him out anyway. And so if you're Oklahoma City, you're able to jump the line in that case, and you can secure the fact that he'll be in Oklahoma City and not have to test the buyout waters. And then for the Hornets, the value of this trade would be, Trey Mann has an ability to pop as a scorer, former first-round pick, and a guy who can fill it up. Davis Bertans is just, a salary cap matcher, but Vasilij Micić, a two-time EuroLeague MVP and champion, also went to Charlotte in that trade, and he had a career night in his debut for Charlotte. So you're taking the chance on guys who have more longevity on their contract in Charlotte. Mann has another year. Micić has 2 more years on his deal, and Hayward's an expiring deal. So you're going to exchange kind of a low ceiling guy for a couple high ceiling guys who also have a very, very, very low floor. But those 2 guys can pop in Charlotte. For Oklahoma City, you were never going to play Trey Mann. That was very obvious. And Trey Mann could be a really good scorer for Charlotte, but he was never going to get into the Thunder rotation. Micić had a lot of question marks of if he can ever play in playoff NBA basketball, especially year one. I think it's going to take him some time to adjust to the NBA. So this trade for the Thunder standpoint was nothing. You also gave up second-round picks, 2 of your 20 second-round picks that you have in your collection. So it was not a big deal there either. So the value of Gordon Hayward is going to be the fact that he can create buckets for himself off the bench and then play finish as well offensively. A lot of people have been concerned about the Thunder's rebuilding ability. However, a bigger issue for them has been their scoring lulls. That's what's doomed them a lot more than rebounds, because the sheer raw rebounding numbers, they are going to live with getting outboarded. They're still going to be out rebounded no matter what they do because of their play style of wanting to go fast and wanting to play smaller. So to live with that, though, you've got to avoid these scoring droughts. Gordon Hayward helps you do that. It's an investment worth making.
So at this point, I know we're not going to see Gordon Hayward or Bismack Biyombo suit up until post All-Star break for the Thunder. But at this point, do you envision Hayward as a key kind of missing bench piece for the Thunder, or do you think there's a world where he maybe steps into, at some point, the starting lineup?
Yeah, I think that Gordon Hayward will be on the bench for the length of this season. I don't think that he'll step into the starting lineup. I don't think that it'd be wise for the Thunder nor him for him to be in the starting lineup. The beautiful thing about the Thunder is they have the depth required to take time off of Gordon Hayward and the rest of the regular season, play him enough to get him accustomed to the style of play, and his teammates, but manage his workload to where you can have a healthy Gordon Hayward in the postseason, which is where he's really going to make an impact as long as he can get there, because he is a better closer for this team in the postseason than some of their guys that they play right now. For example, if you're getting into a spot where you need offense and you need to make a comeback late in a game, would you rather have Gordon Hayward's scoring ability out there or Josh Giddey? There's going to be games where you'd rather have Gordon Hayward. There's going to be games where you'd rather have other players as well. But Gordon Hayward at least gives you another option to throw into the playoff rotation. And as we mentioned at the top, the risk of trading for Gordon Hayward is nothing. It's guys who might pop in Charlotte, like Treyman and Micic, but we're never going to pop in Oklahoma City, and 2 second-round picks out of your 20 tradable second-round picks, which are easy to recoup as well. So this is a no-risk move that can really pay dividends. I would imagine that Gordon Hayward, once he is fully integrated into this team, will be a key bench player for Oklahoma City.
And how one of the other areas that I really thought was interesting about this is I think it just helps just from almost an intangibles perspective for this OKC team being as young as they are. They've had a ton of success. They're easily one of the best teams in the NBA this season, but they are still a really young team. I forget which Thunder player made the joke, but they have a new kind of old head in the locker room right now. Gordon Hayward is the new uncle on the Thunder roster.
J-Dub has talked a lot about that, of there being a new old head around, because it used to be Kenrich Williams, who's not even 30 yet, and Gordon Hayward, of course, much older than that. But what was interesting about Mark Daigneault talking about Gordon Hayward was that he made it a very key point of Gordon Hayward's not here to be a chaperone. He's not here to have this age wisdom. He's here to win basketball games. And so they view him as a basketball player first, experience second, but it's impossible to ignore the experience that he brings. Even though he only has 29 career playoff games, just think about the teams he was around and how he watched those teams react to certain scenarios, both good and bad. He watched the Celtics do what the Thunder are trying to do. They got led by 21-year-old, 24-year-old Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, and these young guys go on anomaly playoff runs so young in the bubble to the Eastern Conference Finals. They saw how they reacted to integrating new pieces whenever they traded for Kyrie, and he saw everything kind of unfold with that roster, which is in a similar, not apples to apples, but a similar scenario with Oklahoma City, who was led by 2 second-year players, and for Chet Holmgren, his first year playing on the court, and a 25-year-old SGA. So I think that whenever you look at Gordon Hayward's experience, it's impossible not to get excited about that, but he's also going to make an impact on the floor.
Now, I know you mentioned this earlier, touched on it briefly, the size concerns a little bit for this OKC Thunder team, their roster. Not a ton of size outside of Chet Holmgren. So you make the buyout acquisition of signing Bismack Biyombo. How large of a role, I guess, do you expect him to play for this Thunder team? And are there any other potential buyout targets that you could see the Thunder maybe trying to pursue as those candidates kind of sort themselves out and become, clear waivers, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so I think with Bismack Biyombo, you're looking at a player who is not, I don't think, going to be a fixture of the rotation, but the beautiful thing that he provides is he's 6'8" with a 7'5" wingspan, and he's 255 pounds. So he has the ability to fit more into your style than, say, an Andre Drummond would. He can run the floor in transition better than Drummond. He can do more things in this versatile style of offense and defense than what more traditional bigs who people wanted the Thunder to go get can do. But by the same token, he cannot space the floor. Of course, Jalen Williams out of Arkansas is better at that than he is. However, the beautiful thing about Bismack Biyombo is that he allows you to just have the option, because you don't want to head into a postseason series where there's no curveball. There's nothing you can do to get out of a jam in the 8th inning, so to say. There's no reliever to come in and fix a size issue in a certain game or certain matchups or certain lineups. So now you've brought in a guy who's going to be immediately the best rebounder on the roster and immediately going to be the guy who can absorb contact better than anyone else and really contest guys like Jokic in the post if you need it to happen in that way. So I think that from that aspect of it, you'd much rather have the option than not. You'd much rather be able to do something to counteract your opponent than just have to throw your hands up and play in an entrenched style. As far as the rest of the buyout market, they'd have to make another roster move. The roster is full right now at all 18 guys because they've converted Lindy Waters to a standard deal and they've signed Adam Flagler to a 2-way deal along with Bismack Biyombo. However, they could cut Poku and free up a roster spot. So I wouldn't say it's a 0% chance, but I think that the roster is pretty solidified with what they're going to do moving forward with this team, and we'll see how far they can get.
If Sam Presti cuts Poku, will we have a riot over it Locked on Thunder?
We will not. It will have might be a celebration, honestly. But no, Poku has not played like a single minute, it feels like, for this Thunder team this year and been a non-factor entering restricted free agency. And we'll see if anything happens for him this summer period.
How will Gordon Hayward help elevate this already very good Thunder team? Will they be active any further in the buyout market? You'll have us covered for all of that and so much more over at Locked On Thunder. Rylan, thanks for stopping by Locked On NBA with me.
Thanks for having me.